It was more than a fiasco. I've never, and I've been in politics more than 50 years, I have never seen anything quite like it. Who better to tell us the American reaction than Simon from Florida, from Weaponized News. Simon, welcome back to the show. I'd never seen anything like it. Had you? And how did it go down across the pond?
Mr. Galloway, greetings to you and greetings to your worldwide audience. But in the few minutes remaining, I have much, much worse news than that on a very timely basis, I'm afraid to have to share with you. And this is directly going to affect your individual person. And that's not a threat, it's a very kind warning. So please hear me out on this, because it's going to affect your staff and your family and your callers and the guests and millions of people in England, okay? So the agreement, the 100-year agreement that was started by Rishi Sunak and signed by Keir Starmer, that we've all been mocking because it didn't have much substance to it and it was just an agreement and wasn't legally binding, has been laid in the last week before the House of Commons and the House of Lords as an official British treaty for ratification. That happened on the 24th of February. And it has been listed under the negative resolution procedures, which I can explain, by Lammy as item number 13 on the 25th of February. The House of Lords has referred it to the International Agreements Committee. Now, in the House of Commons, if the government doesn't allow an opposition debate, which won't happen because the opposition, as you've explained to the audience tonight, don't want to oppose that agreement, the only way this is going to be defeated is if a private member's bill is passed in its entirety within 40 days from the 24th of February. That hasn't happened since 1979. It's going to go into law by default without a debate in the House of Commons. Now, to make it even worse, under Article 11.3, on the last page of that 6 pages of text that was signed by Zelenskyy and Starmer on the 16th of January, it makes provision for sub-agreements. The same day, in the same location, they signed a 16-page sub-agreement, which has the same title with the word declaration added to the end of it. I've put a link to the UK government website where the full text of that is posted on your Rumble chat. I've sent all of these links to your producer, Chris, to your assistant producer, Jaya, and to you by Twitter messages, so people can find those through their sources. None of this is opinion. It's all documented on British government websites, okay? Now, the House of Lords has launched an inquiry committee to consider both the 6-page 100-year agreement and the 16-page sub-agreement. The deadline for public comment that I would implore your audience to see these links and follow the manner in which you can submit your reasoned comments, not vitriol, reasoned comments, right, is going to be via the House of Lords International Agreements Committee. Now, these two documents combined are 22 pages and are designed, in the case of the master agreement, the treaty, to last for 100 years. The House of Lords have summarized it into 7 sentences, and we have 8 days to comment, okay? They are committing Britain to give £3 billion a year to Ukraine as a minimum for the next 6 years, and to continue support thereafter at unspecified amounts. But in the 16-page agreement, I would draw people's attention expressly to Article 1.3, 3.2, and 7.5. And it's 7.5 that directly threatens you and the British audience, because it says that the British government, in conjunction with the Ukrainian government, who have death lists for their opponents, are going to coordinate countermeasures against individuals who oppose Ukraine. That is in Article 7.5. So that went into immediate effect on the 16th of January. So you, sir, and I'm not exaggerating here, are now a target of the British government. Now, they have an automatic system that can target people via social media done by artificial intelligence that's run by NATO, and it's called Merlin. And it went operational September 2023. And there's no accountability for it whatsoever, because every individual government can say, we don't run that, NATO runs that. Now, today in Lancaster House, well, you will recall that I broadcast live with you, your favourite Tory MP, Grant Snapps, announcing the 100-year deal at Lancaster House about a year ago to all the British generals sitting there nodding in the front row. They're now talking about forming joint army, British and Ukrainian units, and joint naval task force, British ships sailing with Ukrainian ships in the Black Sea. Joint air units, basically like Churchill proposed to the French in 1940, before the end of the Battle of France and before the start of the Battle of Britain, to merge France with Britain so that France could enter, because they were half of Britain in a new version of the British Empire. People can look that up. There was a serious plan that got proposed at the cabinet level, but then France collapsed before they signed the agreement, right? This is the level of integration that we are seeing. And the British government is going to use AI to target our citizens. And like they did after Southport, you can see when they come after you for social media quotes that they don't like, they come down on you damn hard. And this pretense that Keir Starmer said we have free speech in Britain and we're proud of it and have had it for many, many decades, that he said directly to the face of Vice President Vance, he knew that was a lie because he had signed the agreement to do this in Article 7.4 and 7.5 of the Declaration, not the Master Treaty, the Declaration, weeks before he flew to Washington. And he knew what he had agreed. And the parliamentary librarian has clarified that this is going to be legally binding. But she said it doesn't have an Article 5 paragraph like the NATO treaty from 1949, which people think is an automatic mutual defense trigger. It is not. It is discretionary.
No.
Each country gets to decide what they do. Article 1.3 of this document makes it compulsory for Britain to come to the defense of Ukraine. Compulsory. Within 24 hours. It's there in writing. So this is incredibly serious. And we have 8 days, including today, to write to the House of Lords using the details they've provided in order to try and have any chance of getting this amended, because it's not even going to be debated.
Well, I'm sure it will not be. I'm sure it will not be amended, even if we had a decent Parliament. Getting it amended in such a short period of time would be a very tall order indeed. But as we have a rubber stamp Parliament of almost no merit at all, then any hope of amendment is forlorn. It doesn't mean that we should not place on record our opposition to it. Our Director of Policy, a very clever man called Tim Pendray, I'm sure he'll be listening and will already have probably downloaded it all, but certainly will do so. As for countermeasures against me and against this show, we are constantly dealing with countermeasures, from electronic interference to algorithmic suppression to censorship and attempts to tell us who we can and cannot have on our show, and so on. And we'll continue to broadcast here as long as we can. But if the day comes when it is no longer possible freely to speak in Britain, then we will go into exile, most probably in the United States of America. Isn't that a remarkable turn of events? Simon from Weaponized News, thank you for that most powerful clarion call.